Hello, everyone, and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And Jerry, we said we weren't going to be back for like another week unless something,
Yeah,
emergency worthy happened. And just one day later, something emergency worthy happens. The Panthers have placed Christian McCaffrey on injured reserve for the second time this season, which means it is for the rest of the season.
he's a
Essentially,
gone.
he's done.
Yeah. Uh, I was not expecting that. I mean, especially considering they were expecting him possibly coming back in the game, and we were both thinking, hey, hold him out. This game's a lost cause. We can't get anything going. And
He
then,
had no injury status during the game.
no, I just.
Not questionable, not doubtful. He was standing on the sidelines. He even came back in a couple of times, on third downs and stuff. And Matt Rule today said that didn't seem like it was, a big deal.
Well,
Um,
it was.
yeah, apparently the pro football doctor guy on Twitter, who's usually pretty accurate with stuff, he tweeted out yesterday that he said it didn't look bad and that he would expect McCaffrey to be fine after the bye. And even today, he said that just looking at it again, didn't look that bad. And he's wondering if there's, something else
Yeah.
going on that precipitated this. Because if it's
Well,
not if it's a high ankle sprain, that's 4 to 6 weeks. I get that. You're pretty much done, right?
yeah.
If it's
And
not a high ankle sprain, then I don't know what it could be.
John Alexander said the MRI came back. It doesn't look that serious. That it doesn't
Mhm.
look like it's going to require surgery or anything like that. It should heal on its own, but it's one of those things that it's going to take a while to heal on its own. Just another season where Christian McCaffrey plays a handful of games. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you've got to say that that's a bad contract.
yeah,
If we didn't already think it was a bad contract, uh, which some of us did, and I think you and I, we love Christian McCaffrey,
I
but
hindsight. I mean, I
yeah,
loved the contract when we got it,
yeah,
but that being said, I mean, look at it now. I mean, he hasn't played a full season since. I mean, he's like I said, only a handful of games. I mean,
yeah.
he's the engine of this offense. That's the way Joe Brady built this team, which I understand, but he should have worked something else out. And now this team is just gonna continue to struggle. So
Yeah, it's I mean, you're a half a game out of the playoffs. By next week, at worst, you're a game out of the playoffs.
mhm.
After the bye, you could be tied for that seventh seed. Playing two teams that are ahead of you, over the next few weeks, and certainly the Panthers are not out of it.
No,
By mathematically, they're right in there. They're right in the middle of things. So this is a major blow. Like this is, like you said, and like we've seen, without McCaffrey, this offense is different and worse.
it's worse. I am kind of excited to see some Chuba Hubbard again because he did have
Yeah.
some decent games filling in. He's the only 100-yard rusher this year for this team.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I'm looking on the bright side of it. If it makes you feel any better, like CMC gets to rest the ankle, and let's be honest, if we make the playoff, which I doubt we will, because I mean this team just doesn't look
Mhm.
anything like a playoff contender. They're going to be one and done, even with Christian McCaffrey. One of the real
Well,
teams
that's the
is going to.
thing is like, what was the reason to put him on IR? Because if you make the playoffs, then surely he would be ready in 7 weeks. Surely he would be healed up enough to play a playoff game. It almost feels like they're sort of punting the rest of the season away. Now,
I
looking
mean,
at the schedule, it's certainly likely that they're not going to make the playoffs, right? At
well,
this point,
look at the past 2 weeks. This
I know that's what
the
I'm saying.
team
That's what I'm
already
saying.
punted it away. I mean, we were into the driver's seat
Yeah,
in the coaching, the team, everyone there. They didn't come out and play the past 2 weeks like they they deserve or wanted to get in the playoffs. And this is kind of going with that same motto of, all right, see you next year. We're gonna trot out there and play, but there's no heart in it. There's no want.
Do you think that they'll sign anybody else at the running back position?
I
Probably,
think
right?
they,
I would
yeah,
imagine.
I think right now we only have Chuba and Amir. Chuba will start. Amir will be that third down back. I think Bonavin might still be on the practice squad. I don't know. I mean, the practice squad is the practice squad. It bounces around.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know who is out there. I can't find the list of free
I
agents.
no one's they drafted Chuba for this reason. I don't see them going for a big name. They may get someone mediocre like the Royce Freemans, the Amir Abdullahs. The second, third tier guys. I could see them
Yeah,
picking
I
someone
mean,
else up.
Rodney Smith, who was in camp and
Hmm.
preseason, he's out there still. I mean, if you want to go big names, Todd Gurley is a free agent. Le'Veon Bell is now a free agent again. Um, you got TJ Yeldon is out there, not necessarily a big name, but a name you know. So I mean, there are some guys that Chris Thompson. I mean, there's some guys that have had past success. Again, who knows if they'll sign somebody like that or just roll with Chuba. I kind of hope they do roll with Chuba just to see,
Yeah,
because now he knows. Now he knows he's the guy. He and Amir Abdullah are the guys. Amir, assuming take that third down role, and Chuba is going to be the bell cow back. I want to see it. I mean, especially at this point, you're 5-7.
yeah,
You're playing for next year, essentially. I mean, and we're just gonna have to understand that as Panthers fans. Enjoy seeing Cam out there for the last 6 games of the season, 5 games of the season. Probably gonna be his last go round with the team, and then we'll reboot it again next year, essentially, right?
yeah. I agree. I think you run Chuba. You sign. I wouldn't mind bringing Rodney Smith back. He played
Yeah,
decent last year in his spot
sure.
duty. Just bring someone like that up that the
Or
team
Bonifant.
is, or
I'd be
Bonavin.
happy to see Bonifant back.
Someone like that can sub in and feel fine.
Hmm.
There's no reason to break a bank, spend more than
Right.
set minimum salary.
I can't imagine any of these guys would be more than a minimum salary. I mean, they're sitting on the couch doing nothing. I don't know what the health, the readiness status is of any of these guys.
Yeah,
Um, so but yeah, I mean, gosh, it's just that's a big blow to lose CMC. That he hasn't looked great the last couple of weeks. Like he just didn't get a lot of opportunities. Certainly this past week, I think he had 10 touches, only 10 rushes, no catches, right?
yeah. And
Yesterday.
that whole game. I mean, the offensive line did nothing for running the ball, nothing for the passing game. Cam Newton didn't even help out the run game by completing passes. So
Yeah, and this thing is like they did make a concerted effort to lessen his touches when he came
mhm.
back from and I'm pulling up his game log now when he came back from that extended absence. So if you're just looking at his total touches from November 7th when he came back to now, 18 against New England, 23 against Arizona, 17 against Washington, and 10 last week. I mean, the
Yeah,
23 against New England was a lot considering that was a blowout, but everything else under 20.
yeah.
And even that didn't save him from this. So,
I don't know if he will last till the end of this contract. Or if they'll have to move on from him because you can't trade him. No one's going to take that contract right
yeah,
now.
when's that? His out is when? After this year or after next year?
Give me 1 second. Yep. Sorry, YouTube. I know you just got blasted with my screen. I was trying to find it. Yep. And again.
Whoa. It's after this year. So They can cut him at no, sorry, it's after 2022. They can cut him after 2022 with 12 million dead cap, but that would save them what 36 million over the next 3 years. Actually, even more than that against the cap.
And
40 million against the cap, essentially.
and you
50
never
million
know. They could restructure it too.
They could, yeah, they could, and they should, honestly, at this point. I mean, it would be irresponsible almost if they didn't figure out
Yeah.
some way to lessen that cap hit moving forward, turn some of that into a signing bonus or whatever. Figure out how to avoid a couple of those years. Like, I don't know, but, or maybe trade him. I mean, his contract at this point is probably untradeable, but
Yeah.
maybe you try to turn it into an asset somehow. I don't know. It's a tough one. That's a tough contract.
It's so brutal because when he's out there and he's playing, he's so dynamic, but
Yeah.
you
And
just can't.
it was basically indestructible up until he signed the contract.
Yeah.
He missed. I don't think he missed any games. Maybe he missed one.
No.
His first 3 years. Yeah, no, he was indestructible. He was exactly what you want out of that position. And as soon as he signs the contract, now this will be 23 out of 33 games that he will have missed since then, which is
That's a lot, man.
a lot.
It's just
that's 2/3, more than 2/3. So tough.
man, being a Panthers fan's rough this past few weeks, man.
I'm
That's
telling you,
hard.
man, this has been a season where if you're still all in, if you're still,
I mean,
planning your Sundays around watching the game and still downloading this podcast and watching on YouTube, then you're a real one.
yeah.
You are part of the Panther community hardcore, and we love you for it. The Panthers should love you for it too, and I hope that they reward all of us, in the coming seasons with some good football, because so far we haven't seen it this last couple of years.
No, it's really bad, and I don't know what I want to do for this team right now. Like moving forward, what do we want? Do we want them to win now, make the playoffs? Do we want?
Yeah, I think
them-
you always do. You always want to make the playoffs, right? Because then anything can happen. I mean, if they catch fire and are able to make the playoffs, then that means that they have figured something out.
You got a point there, because if they did catch fire, they would have to win 5. I would say 5 games, maybe 4.
No, well, I think they'd at least have to win 4 out of the next 5.
So
Because we only got 5 left. I think they'd have to go 4-1 over the next 5, and that puts them at 9 wins.
Yeah,
And even that maybe doesn't get them in. But it might. And I think it probably would. I think 9 wins gets you in, probably in the NFC. Looking at the rest of the teams, it's 7 teams per conference now get in. So I think that gets you in. But if they go 4-1 over the next 5, then we're all feeling really good, going into the playoffs.
I
That's a
agree.
hot
If we
team.
go 4-1 against Buffalo, Tampa twice, New Orleans, Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta and New Orleans, yeah, I don't really. But
it's still division games. Those are still tough games.
Buffalo and Tampa twice. I mean, that's. Whew.
Plus, Atlanta and New Orleans are also in the playoff hunt. These are all playoff games from now on. They are all playoff games until the Panthers, probably until we lose 2 more. And then it's over. You're not getting in with 7 wins. Probably not getting in with 8 wins. So. I was thinking earlier, even before this news came out, it is realistic that the Panthers could lose out and could end up 5-12, which would be worse than the 5-11 from last year. And even 6-11 feels worse than last year, considering how we started this season. I think if the Panthers go 5-12, that gives Tepper an out. I think that gives him the justification to move on from Matt Rule, because he didn't see any improvement. And I think even 6-11 could give him that out. Anything more than that, I think is, well, it's, again, we improved on last year and we're going to give it one more run. But 5-12 or 6-11, I think not only are the fans going to be calling for Matt Rule's head, which they already are, but that gives Tepper the out. That gives you what you want, Jerry.
I think seeing this team regress throughout the season, it looks worse than it did at the beginning of the season. The only opposition would be the Arizona game. I mean, this team looks like a worse version of week 1 and week 2 teams. Yes, they were weaker opponents, but they had fight. This team doesn't have fight. Either side of the ball. I mean, there's a few players out there playing well, but the rest of them.
Yeah, there's some standouts. There's some standouts on every team. I mean, DeAndre Swift on the Lions is having a great season. That team hasn't won a game.
Yeah.
There's some standouts on every NFL team, and there's some standouts on this team. There's a lot of talent on this team. We've talked about it over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a 5-7 talent team, but you're missing those key spots. I sent you, and it's out there on Twitter for everybody to find, the PFF grades for the offensive line. Or was it? PFF grades for the offensive line for Sunday. And Moton was average, even slightly below average. And everyone else was significantly below average. And we even had a 0 in there,
Trent Scott, right guard, 0. Pat Elflein, 18.9. And these are out of 100, by the way.
Out of 100, yeah.
Michael Jordan, left guard, 13.5. Dennis Daly, 24.3.
That's your left tackle.
And Taylor Moton at 49.9.
Yeah.
I mean,
so even Taylor Moton, even our by far our best offensive lineman, had an awful game by his standards. And then that results in Cam having possibly the worst game of his entire career. After looking pretty good the week before. Yeah, this team, and now you lose your most dynamic playmaker in Christian McCaffrey for the rest of the season. I don't even know how you evaluate Cam or running backs or anything the rest of the year with an offensive line like that. I don't know how you do it.
And how do you grade out a scheme? I mean, right. We knock Joe Brady left and right on this podcast, but how do you grade his scheme? Yes, as a coach, he's doing awful because the O-line has been awful last year, this year, and that's on him because they're not getting up to stuff to be halfway decent.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about this O-line as it's one of the worst in the league, worst 2-3 on the league, and that's not even a question.
I don't remember a Panthers O-line being this bad. I don't remember one being this bad.
Hey, we knew it going into the season.
Yeah. Yes, we did. Everyone, any Panthers fan worth anything knew that. Now, we saw some people, maybe some hopeful, wishful thinking out there, but this is as bad as we thought it could be, honestly. Maybe even slightly worse than we thought it could be. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Joe Brady, he's having to scheme around this offensive line. He's probably not able to use plays he wants to use because he knows the quarterback is not going to have more than a second and a half of time to do anything. And now we've got Cam in there who, love Cam, love what he means to the franchise. He has limitations now in terms of what he can do throwing the ball. And we've seen that for the last several years. So yeah, it's tough. It is tough. This is a tough job. I don't envy David Tepper. I don't envy Fitterer.
I envy David Tepper. I would love to have his bank account and be
making
these decisions in reality.
Okay, I envy David Tepper. I don't envy the decisions that some of these guys are going to have to make based on what we've seen this year. And I would not be surprised if they bring everybody back next year and they spend all off season retooling the offensive line and just trying to see what they've got. And Sam Darnold is the starter in 2022. I feel like that's going to happen. I know. But hey, we'll have McCaffrey for a couple of weeks next season, so that'll be good. You know, we will see that. Jerry, how you feeling right now with your fantasy team?
Oh,
which is built around Christian McCaffrey.
My fantasy team has struggled all year, anyways. Honestly, not that bad. Christian McCaffrey, was the main guy, but I was already
your number one pick.
I already dealt with him being gone for a while. I had 6 people on IR at once, so right now I have only one in Christian McCaffrey. So I'm actually doing good.
Well, anybody else out there with McCaffrey on your fantasy team, RIP. We're sorry. And Panthers fans in general, like, tough day. Tough few days.
Yep. All right. We want to thank everyone for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. If you don't, tell them now. Wait till the team is better in a couple years. We understand.
No, tell them now. Tell them now when we're at our worst, so they can see us at our best later.
Please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com. Please leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts. We'll read it on the show. We do have one, but this is not the episode that we really want to.
Yeah, we don't want to stick you in this one, but it was a very nice review, and we will read it next week when we're back, or later this week if something else happens. God forbid.
And please like and subscribe on YouTube.
Yep. And like I said, we'll be back sometime next week. We'll have some sort of bye week content for you guys. And until then, everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding.